Hello Internet, welcome back to Tromsø Twilight, the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you, the universe, about books, movies, music I enjoy, find interesting, or a combination of the two. I recently did a video about Hamnet and how I didn't like it. This video was seen by a lot more people than usual. I think maybe because the algorithm recommends it more when you say you didn't like something. So now I'm going to bury my channel again by talking about how I did like another film starring Jessie Buckley, which is not appreciated by so many people. I think it's quite a divisive film and bombed in the States, and that is The Bride, Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie from this year, 2026. Now, Jessie Buckley plays three overlapping characters in the film, and I'll come back to that. But the film has a real ensemble cast. There's a supporting, starring role, you could say, a male lead from Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, also known as Frank in the movie. Some of us prefer to call him the creature, we who are politically correct slash woke. Christian Bale was unrecognizable. I didn't realize it was him. And I think the performance is amazing. There's also an amazing supporting role from Annette Bening, who plays a kind of mad scientist. So I'm going to not try to summarize the film, but I'll tell you what the initial concept is. And this, I think, is already alienating to a lot of people. The film begins with Mary Shelley speaking from beyond the grave in black and white, close up on Jessie Buckley's face with a kind of quite received pronunciation English accent, and she is describing how the story that she really wants to tell is not her original story of Frankenstein and his monster, but the story of the bride. She then possesses a woman called Ida, who is also played by Jessie Buckley. And Ida is a kind of gangster mole or an escort with gangsters in Chicago. And when Mary Shelley takes over her body, she becomes kind of rebellious, loud. She exposes a local gangster for having killed a lot of women and is then subsequently murdered. We cut to the creature, Frank, played by Christian Bale, approaching a mad scientist, Annette Bening, and asking for a bride, a mate. Just a quick note, if you were listening to this on headphones, you might have heard an aeroplane beginning to come into the sonic frame, and then I've now edited it out. I live under a flight path. Tromsø is a small island and the airport is not far away, so planes go over all the time. It's one of the reasons why there are many edits in these videos. Anyway, so they dig up Ida, they reanimate her, and she becomes the bride of Frank, and she's completely wild and still possessed of Mary Shelley. So she has like a kind of Chicago gangster mole accent, and then she keeps switching to Mary Shelley. And Mary Shelley's character is a sort of almost like a dissociative, slightly psychotic character who does a lot of like word salad and babble and just says rhyming words, and is very kind of unpredictable. She keeps switching all the time. Now, to me, this is brilliant. Like, some people might find this very pretentious, affected, irritating, showy. I love this type of shit. I mean, I thought that the way she kept switching, Jessie Buckley, and it was like compelling, hilarious, very entertaining. And Christian Bale plays Frank as this sort of very like soft, gentle man, loving, kind of old-fashioned guy who is just adoring of her, but at the same time very protective, so prone to violence. They go to a nightclub, and Fever Ray is playing. So there's this, even though this is set in kind of Prohibition period Chicago, I guess, for some reason Fever Ray is doing a kind of electronic set, and there's all this very strange dancing. I adore Fever Ray. I was so happy to see her or them in the movie. I'm not sure on the pronouns these days. In any case, fantastic scene. And then things begin to escalate because there's some violence. And then it becomes a sort of road movie where they're also being chased, a little bit like The Fugitive, or what's the movie with the two women, really famous movie? Thelma and Louise. And then Maggie Gyllenhaal, the director, weaves in references to musicals, early black and white cinema, kind of, there's comedy, there's romance. The movie is basically completely unrestrained, and it's like fiction within a fiction, you know, like the nominal writer of the story is also a character, but within the undead. And there are also very on the nose, in your face, rebellious feminist aspects to this movie. Like at one point, Ida seems to suddenly be channeling the the voice of many murdered women, and confronting people about this. It's like she's not just Mary Shelley; she's the voice of all women subjected to abuse and death. There's no context for this. There's no law. There's no internal logic around it, but it just happens, and I kind of liked it. On the other hand, I wasn't keen on all of these other women in the film kind of imitating the bride or becoming like her and becoming rebels, because for one thing it felt a little bit too cynically like marketing. Like I felt like they were aiming for people to dress as the bride at Halloween. Like it was almost like cynically attempted to create a look. And also, it's too much like the Joker. You know, it's very close to like a sort of feminist version of the Joker. And in the same way, the rebellion is very empty. So, like the level of like critique, there's no sort of real critique of like political structures within America. It's a little bit girl boss. At the same time, I enjoy cinema that is kind of symbolically rebellious. I think sometimes you don't need a very rigorous critique because it's a visual, visceral art form, and it can kind of encourage and give you images for your own rebellious or political tendencies. And I do think that to the extent that there is like a very clear feminist thrust in the movie, it's also very coherent with some of the other work that Maggie Gyllenhaal, the director, has done as an actress, like Sherry Baby, the Deuce. She's kind of got a very clear perspective, I think, as an entertainer, as an actress, and now as a director. And another thing I really enjoyed about this movie is, you know, what makes it very easy to criticize or reject. It's so messy in its ambition. Like it's like something that hasn't been restrained at all. It's as if producers were not allowed to touch it. It's Maggie Gyllenhaal trying to be a creative writer, trying to be poetic, trying to be cinematic, trying to write a thriller, referencing all her favourite Hollywood tropes. It's also like a love letter to cinema. And I don't need a film like this to succeed all the time. I just need it to be, you know, engaging, entertaining, surprising. And for me, this really pulled it off. Now, I would understand if you thought that it was a disaster, but for me, there's something admirable about being so unrestrained and being taking so many risks when cinema is so often so predictable and so asinine. I think I would sum it up by saying that though The Bride is far from a perfect film, it is a very lovable film, at least for me. And I think, you know, me and Maggie Gyllenhaal, despite everything else in our lives being different, we're from more or less exactly the same demographic. I think maybe she's 1 or 2 years older than me. And the film sort of reflects, I think, the kind of postmodern Gen X movies of the 90s in this very kind of stylized, referential mode that I kind of miss. And it's nice to see somebody doing that again. It almost feels like it's a film that would only be made now at this point by somebody from exactly our generation. So I guess that's my take on The Bride. I'd be very interested to hear what you thought of it. I don't blame you if you didn't like it, and I'd be interested to hear why. It really won me over despite its wildness, maybe because of it. So thanks for listening. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more. If you do not, please enjoy the rest of your life. Take care, and lots of love.